Well, Isaac sets up, just to clarify, we're not in fact a legal entity, we're two separate people. My name's Chulin, that's Isaac. What about Shahid? He feels left out.
I don't think this works. I'm just going to use this. Okay, hello guys, so I'm Isaac and this is Chulin. Yeah, we are not Blink Blank, but we help run Blink Blank. And Blink Blank is an event, yes, something like TEDx, where people come and give talks about interesting topics, say like myths about Charles Darwin or the history of frisbee golf, whatever they're interested in. But one of the big differences, we do it in a bar and there's some music. So it's like TEDx with beers, yeah. And yeah, so that's good, yeah. Always a good idea to add beers to your event. But what we'd like to do is just tell you a little bit about how the event started and a couple of lessons that we've learned in running it. And before I go on, I just want to say thank you to the curators for having us. And also thank you guys for listening. It's been a long day, so we'll try to make the next 11 minutes worth your while. Okay, do we have a clicker?
You're holding it, that little silver thing. He's more nervous than he lets on. Buy him a beer afterwards.
Okay, what is Blink Blank? So really quickly, let me tell you the story. So Blink Blank is a copy. It's a derivation of other events. So one lesson is, just copy something else that was good. So this story for Blink Blank, it starts in New York. I was living there. My friend Matt, he was running an event called Nerd Night. Nerd Night is Discovery Channel with beer, right?
Are you seeing a theme here?
You see a theme. And so he ran this event. People give a talk in a bar. And I thought that was really cool. I went to it. I gave a talk once. And when I moved to Singapore, I thought in the back of my head, well, maybe we'll reproduce Nerd Night here. So then fast forward a bit, and I went to one of the first TEDx events here, TEDx MIT. And I said, oh, that's really cool too. Like people come and give talks, and it's social. So maybe I should do something like that. And then afterwards, I come to this dinner. Fabian organized the dinner and said, who wants to do more stuff like this? And I'm thinking, well, I definitely want to do stuff, or at least meet other people who want to do stuff like this, because they'd be cool people to meet. So I go to the dinner and I meet someone who says, hey, what about Vikas, who's not here anymore, but he's a co-founder. What about doing an informal TEDx style event with beer in a bar? And I'm like, yeah, like Nerd Night. Okay, let's do it, right? So we just reproduced that. We changed the name a little bit, and we find one other person to run it, Shahid, who's like a event organizer, a music producer, and we have this event, and we start it. And we're going to tell you a little bit about what we learned doing it, but just one other thing about the name. So what is Blink Blank? Well, blank we thought was like fill in the blank, like everybody can fill in the blank in their own way. Blink just kind of sounded cool. And what we wanted to do was we wanted a name that didn't really mean that much, so that it could take on whatever the event became. It would just be like an open thing, and then we would fill it with the meaning of the event. So that worked well. Leaving the A out didn't work that well. That was not a good idea. It's too clever and complicated. No one knows our name or how to pronounce it. So if you name your event, like skip the clever orthography or whatever and just use real letters, yeah? Okay, so a couple of lessons that we learned. The first lesson, just get started. So people say, oh, so how did you make this event? And let me say, we've done it for 12 times. We've had 37 speakers. We started 20 or 30 people come. Now 120 people come every event. So it's grown pretty big. And people say, well, how did you do this? And we say, well, we just kind of did it. We just get started. Just do your thing. And you'll hear this a lot at TEDx events or at entrepreneurship. People say, just get off your butt and do your project. But let me try to give a little bit more about how that happens. Well, one way to do it, which I said, is we found a team. I'll tell you, Chulin will tell you later how she became part of the team, but we found a team, people who could support each other and work on it together, who had complementary skill sets and who could push each other to make it better. So if you're trying to like get off your butt and do something, maybe go find someone else who will do it with you. It becomes much, much easier. The other thing about getting off your butt and doing it, well, so think about our first event. It was at Hackerspace, of course, where all good things start in Singapore. And the thing is, the event was not that good. I mean, we just didn't have it together yet. And everything, the sound and how we work with the speakers and the way the space worked, it just wasn't that good. But the point is that it existed, right? We created it. And when we created that first event, what happened is a couple of things. First of all, we got feedback. People said, well, that was good or that wasn't good. We learned from it. We iterated based off that event. You hear that about software development, about all kinds of different projects. It's true. Once you start something, you can figure out what's working, and it's much easier to do it there than sitting in a room talking about it. And the other thing that happened, though, that's more important is we created momentum, right? So when nothing exists, the tendency is for it to persist in not existing. And when something does exist, the tendency is for it to, persist in existing, right? So when we create this small event, even though it's not exactly what we dreamed of, it pushes us. It creates momentum, and we say, oh, well, now let's have another one. And it takes on its own life. So if you just get started, what will happen is you'll just keep going. So that's one lesson we learned, and now Chulin's going to tell you about another one.
Well, contrary to what Isaac said, it doesn't take on a life of its own. We need the community to come and help us. So how the momentum actually got started was like this. He decided, okay, we need a Twitter feed, we need a Facebook page, we need, we need a blog. And that was how the community got involved, because people started to see it. Fabian started to tell his friends, hey, last week I went to this thing called Bling Blank. And then he tells his friends, and his friends come and tell us, that sounded really fun. When's the next one? Oh shit, we have to do a next one. And then we have to do a next one, and we have to do a next one. So really the point here is other people will help you, but you're gonna have to make it easy for them to do that. So one of the ways that we use to recruit the community, if you will, is to make it really easy for you to share information about us. We send an email, you can forward the email, you can retweet the tweet, you can like us on Facebook, and that creates a certain awareness, and that creates that kind of positive feedback loop for us to say, hey, somebody's really enjoying this, we've got to keep going. The other thing about the community coming to help is that I like to describe Bling Blank as a crowdsourced event, because you guys know people that we don't know. How do we get 37 speakers? I don't know how we got 37 speakers. Somebody out there decided to say, I've got this friend and he's into frisbee golf. And we're like, what's frisbee golf? Maybe we'll invite him to Bling Blank. In the middle of a talk, we will come and say, hey, if you think you have something that you really want to share with the crowd, come talk to us. Don't have to buy us a beer. We'll find you a slot. We come out and we're very specific about the things that we need help in. So we come out and say, hey, we need somebody to help us with our photography, we need somebody to help us with our video, and people come to us. So really the two lessons here is trust your public. He trusted me. I was one of the speakers in the first Bling Blank, and he said, can la, not freak, can help and organize. So crowdsource from the crowd and be very, very specific about what you need so that people out there who believe in what you do can say, hey, I like to take photos, I can edit, I'll come help them.
Right, definitely, and she is the number one example of that. And the way we get all our speakers is Chulin gets all of our speakers. But those are two lessons that I think apply certainly to our event, to starting other events, to starting your projects, whatever they are. But also, this is a specific thing. This is a talk about giving talks, right? So a couple of lessons that we've learned actually about giving talks and what makes a good talk. So one thing is what makes a good talk. What makes a good Bling Blank talk? People ask, and this is my answer. So what makes a good talk is the speaker, right? Let me try to explain this. So what you might think is what makes a good talk is like some topic that you're really, really interested in. It is possible. That could be a good talk. But what I've noticed after watching 37 Bling Blank talks and TEDx talks and everything, so public speaking, it's a performance. It's an art form, all right? So you're up here on stage, and whether you're trying to edify, or whether you're trying to engage, or whether you're trying to make someone feel happy or sad, the point is that you're up here and you're performing. You're creating an experience that's supposed to make something happen for the people in the audience. And the people who do that well, no matter what they're talking about, are the ones who give great talks, right? Sometimes those are about very important topics that are interesting to me or someone else. Sometimes it's totally random, but it works anyway. And I'll just give one example. A guy who could give a talk on many different things. He's quite informed, and he's a professor, and he said, I want to give a talk about all the paintings I've done over my life. He's an amateur painter. And I'm thinking, first of all, I think you've got better material than that. And second of all, I don't think I even want to listen to your talk about your painting, about your watercolors that you did 20 years ago, right? It just doesn't sound that good, right? But it was amazing. I mean, not because he was a fantastic artist, but because he used these paintings to tell a story, not just about the development of his art, but really about his life and what it is to be young and to travel and to adventure and grow old. And he was a great speaker. It was absolutely gripping. So the point is, yeah, it's not what you talk about, it's what kind of experience you create when you're up there that makes a great talk. And so that's one thing, and now here's Chulin with another, which I think really, this last one is kind of our event philosophy here, so go for it.
Yeah, I think this is the reason why you had to wait till the end of the event to listen to us. Everybody has a story. So just now he told you the official story of why we're called Blink Blank, but halfway through today's talks I realized why this was called Blink Blank for me, because usually when I meet somebody new, after the first 3 minutes, if I can tell that you're not a bore, I will actually ask you, so I do this thing on Wednesday nights, you want to come and give a talk or not? And they'll look at me like I'm this moron and blink at me and they go completely blank and decide that, you know, I'm this weird fish that should not be dealt with. But really, I think doing this event has helped us to realize that everybody has a story. And sometimes I tell people that this is in fact the hardest thing about doing Blink Blank. Because everybody knows who the interesting people in the room are. Everybody knows that, you know, such and such a person has expertise in this thing that will get you, you know, full house. But not everybody knows that, you know, Isaac deep-fried a turkey. And most of the time, people don't deep fry turkeys, and that's actually quite fascinating. So, no, really, be nice to him. He'll invite you to Thanksgiving this year. So, really, the lesson about everybody having a story is twofold. If you're trying to organize an event, then, you know, our advice to you is really to look beyond the obvious. We're not picking on you today, but you are a very good example. Now, I've wanted Fabian to give a talk at Blink Blank for a very long time. And he told me once that he collected bottle caps. I was like, okay lah, talk about bottle cap collecting law. And he said, why? Who the hell collects bottle caps? Who wants to hear about my story about collecting bottle caps? But for those of you who were at Bar Camp last year, you would have heard his talk on bottle caps. I wasn't there, but I thought it was very, very good. So really, don't, you know, assume that nobody wants to hear about bottle caps, because some of us do. Don't assume that people don't want to hear about playing golf in a cemetery, because nobody else does it, so we might as well have you educate us a little bit. And for those of us who are not in the business of organizing talks, maybe it's time to kind of look on ourselves with a gentler eye and say, I have a story. That, you know, there's something that I do that makes me very happy. There's something that I do that helps me get out of bed in the morning. Keep on doing it. And perhaps if you share that story with somebody else, you touch somebody and you'll help them realize that they have a story too.
Yeah. So that's it. That's the closing thought. And this is some information. We do this once a month around at different, again, bars. There's beer involved in Singapore. So please come to the events, or as we said, you know, every one of you is a potential speaker. So please join. And that's our talk. Thank you.